Hey guys, today we're checking out another new amp sim from Neural DSP. This is the Omega Ampworks Granophyre. Now you're going to hear several metal tones from this amp simulator, but first I want to take you inside the Omega Ampworks Granophyre and let's look at its features. Alright guys, we are now inside the Omega Ampworks Granophyre, and as you can see, this is our amp head. This is where your gain and EQ settings and all that is. Now one of the cool things that I appreciate about Neural DSP is their interface is like super easy and simple, and it's just laid out real nice in my opinion, so everything's kind of there and easy to find, and we're going to go through this. So you've got your gain down here. Now next to your gain setting, I want to show you this. You've got a high and low switch, so of course that's high and low gain, but what's cool is if you put it on that low switch and then back your gain off quite substantially, you're going to get some really cool bluesy tones. I mean, you can even get like a country tone if that's something you want, but the option is there. Of course, you know, go back to the high gain, bump it up a notch, and you get that tighter bottom end and those metal tones. Now, I will say this, the gain, you don't have to have it cranked up that high. Like I leave mine on between like 6 and 7 here when I'm recording for my rhythms. For leads, you can, you know, bump it up a little bit to get more of that saturation. So you've got your standard EQ, your bass, mid, treble here. Now you've also got in the middle of the amp a voice switch here. And this just kind of sets your mid-range, you know, how that's going to sit there. And it's just a tone shaping option that you have to get different tones with. Now, as far as tone shaping, you've got some other options here with these depth and detail knobs. So you can really further shape your tone with those knobs. Just mess around with those. You can get some really cool sounds out of that. Now, real quick, I want to show you what's in front of the amp. I always like to see this part. So here you just got a typical distortion pedal or overdrive pedal. It's called the Plume's Earthquaker, because this resembles probably something like a screamer. You know, again, typical overdrive that you would have in front of a metal amp to clean that tone up and tighten it up. You've got your level, tone, and gain. You expect to see that, but what's cool about this one is you've got 3 modes. This little switch up here gives you 3 different modes. So that's just going to give you different gain levels there, which is a cool feature to have. Now let's go back to the amp. There's something else I want to show you at the bottom here, and this is extremely cool. You've got 3 tube options here. You've got your 6L6 here, you've got your EL34, and you've got your KT66. Now I want you to hear what the tubes sound like. So first I'm gonna play with the 6L6 tubes. Here's the EL34 tubes. And lastly, the KT66 tubes. Now I've got 2 more things I want to show you in the interface here of the Omega Ampworks Granophyre, and that's what comes after the amp. So the first of 2 components here I want to show you is the EQ. You've got a 9-band EQ right after the amp. Now, one thing I'll tell you about this specific EQ is it is very sensitive. So you make just subtle changes to your faders here and you're gonna hear that difference right away in your tone. I say that because a lot of the EQs that come with amp plugins or plugin suites like this, they just don't do a whole lot in my opinion. But this one, you can really get a lot of different tones out of just making subtle changes to this EQ. So if you use it, be very careful and gentle with it. Now, the final component I want to share with you here is the cabinet. You've got 1 cabinet, but you've got an array of mics. So I'm going to drop down here on the left. Now real quick, you've got a drop down here on your left and on your right side. So you've got 2 mics, you can mix and match them of course, but look how many mics to the left here. Look how many mics you have. You've got 14 different mics. So what this is, there's 7 mics, and these are kind of your standard mics for, for miking amps. you know, they're the sims for that. But you've got an MS version, this MS1260, and then you've got a VM version, the VM1265. So you essentially have 14 different mics you can mess around with here and get different tones out of. And again, you can mix and match these. You know, you can have, like, for example, we've got like a dynamic 57 MS here on the left side. On the right side, maybe I want the ribbon 121 VM, so you can have that. You've got an array of options there. Now, I want you to hear the contrast between the two versions of the mic. So we're gonna do this with the dynamic 57 mic. I'm gonna let you hear what the dynamic 57 VM sounds like here. Now, here's what the MS version of that same mic sounds like. So that was just one mic, but now I want you to hear some of the mic combinations that I came up with. Alright, so far we're feeling pretty good about the Omega Ampworks Granophyre sim, but like Metallica said, nothing else matters unless it sounds good in the full mix. Alright guys, so let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on the Omega Ampworks Granophyre amp sim. What'd you think about the tones, and is it something that you've played with? Have you tried this amp sim? If you have, I'd love to know your thoughts below, so just leave those in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, keep it metal.